Catus. Maximus here, this time with a little ratchet video. I happened to run into two of these old New Britain manufactured Husky, this time 3/8 inch drive round head ratchets. I had done a review and teardown of the half-inch drive one, but had a unique opportunity here. The half-inch drive one was also a Series 43, and on these 3/8 ones I was able to find a 43 as well, or a CB43 as well as a CB45. And I thought it might be interesting to see what, if any, real differences there are besides this on this 43, it having a chrome plated anvil and having an industrial finish on the 45. Somebody's already replaced the spiral ring that you see here that these ratchets come with a snap ring. And a lot of times with these New Britons, they do have quite a bit of anvil play, particularly this end play. And so the snap rings tend to be a little bit flatter and a little bit thicker, and sometimes they can help reduce that kind of play in round head ratchets. It's a good tip. These do have an excellent New Britain design. They really hold up to the test of time. Very reliable, very rigid reverse knob. One thing I have noticed, and some people have commented on, in New Britain's effort to make these heads pretty thin, they have a very robust racket and trip mechanism. It turns out that the mechanism sometimes stronger than the head. You can see how thin this is, and I even looked online. Yeah, there's been a few times or a few photos I was able to find where the head is actually split because they were just trying to make it a little bit too narrow, and the whole ratchet design is maybe a little too robust for the body, or they just didn't build the body quite good enough for the mechanism. But the mechanism, the New Britain one, is really pretty proven. It uses large oversized pawls, and it uses a wedge type system, far better than the SK. So let me pull these both apart. Obviously the one with the snap ring, it could use a little bit of lube. It's a little bit tight. The nice thing about snap rings is it makes servicing these ratchets just a whole heck of a lot easier. Boom. With the spiral rings, you got to battle with it. You got to get in there. It's not really a battle. You just got to find, wow, this one is pretty gunky. Let me spend a second cleaning that up. It's a little more cleaned out. Now, the 43 series of the half-inch drive also had, actually, I believe it had an industrial finish anvil, but we'll see. With these, it's just finding the little edge that you can, they usually have a little notch, and just really these precision flathead screwdrivers are some of the best things because you can just get under that edge, work it, and then you just kind of pry the screwdriver around in a circle like so, and it just spins that little ring right out of there. Now, something else I was also noticing on these is that on the newer ratchet, it just has the later patent, where on the older ratchets they list both the early and later patents. Pop this out. Yeah, this one just needed some lube. Not too bad. And I can see the upgrade already. They have a brass piece, presumably to help reduce corrosion, which can be an issue. And that's what I'm assuming. The difference, this one has been used quite a bit and has had automotive fluid seep into the ratchet, and surprisingly enough, oil keeps things from rusting and from jamming up. So that appears to really be the difference. Let me pick up this other one here. It's odd, is on the 43 series half-inch drive, it's an industrial finish, but on this 3/8 drive, it's chrome plated. There may be a short period of time, but that literally appears to be the difference. It is exactly the same ratchet with the same mechanism, although actually no, there is a difference. It looks like it's almost coarser on the newer one. Yeah, after I cleaned out some gunk there's no doubt about it. They actually made it a little bit less teeth. They may have had issues with skipping or with grease. You could see where I was cleaning out the grease, how much it built up. That will, I mean, cleaning, a lot of people's problems with ratchets, slipping and that type of stuff is just because they need service. That kind of gunk, grease gets pretty hard, and it builds up enough to make the paw want to lift and not seat properly, even skip a little bit. But it looks like they did. They made the teeth just a little bit deeper and coarser just to make the ratchet more reliable, because obviously, even though this is a finer tooth and gives less swing arc, it's more susceptible to slipping if there's any kind of particles caught up in there. And I've talked a lot about that with the pair head ratchets, all these 90, 100, 120 tooth ratchets. Is you really you have to keep those super clean. Little metal flakes that break apart can cause them to slip. So that's really what they did, is they actually decreased the tooth count just to increase the coarseness, and the, you can see how the teeth are quite a bit deeper on the coarser tooth than they are on the fine tooth. They increase the ratchet reliability, and then they replace the internal parts with more corrosion brass mid layer rather than being all steel. And actually you can see how that's worked. This ratchet has gotten quite a bit of corrosion, and it's even really obvious. If we look inside the head, it's just super obvious the difference in tooth coarseness. It's probably a reduction of 30%. And once again, you can see how thin the heads are. So I can't understand, people hammering or using cheater bars on these ratchets. If they're clean, they won't slip. But just like a really thin wall box wrench, it's going to put an enormous amount of pressure, and that will end up wanting to crack. And so it doesn't really diminish my opinion of the New Britain mechanism. It is a super reliable, proven mechanism. But it's like, it isn't super perfect because they were making the ratchet head so thin that this mechanism here ends up being stronger than the body that they were replacing it in. And in my opinion, a proper quality ratchet's going to have a good quality steel, and the weakest point of the ratchet's going to be the anvil. You should pretty much guarantee that any a good ratchet is going to fail with the anvil twisting off, not with the head slipping or some other kind of issue. Anyway, I'm going to clean these up, lube them, and put them back together, and replace the spiral spring with a snap ring, just like on this one, and get them back together. But it's pretty neat. With power tools, they have like Type A, Type B, or Type 1, Type 2. It's like software versions, but that's actually pretty darn rare when it comes to hand tools. Usually when they make them, that's just how they are. And if they come out with another similar tool, it's just a complete redesign, where this is literally a similar design, but with subtle changes. Like I think these these machined lowers would be the same. These upper plates are the same, but you just once again have that brass plate, and they coarsened and deepened up the ratchet teeth. So that's something kind of neat to know. And so if you see the difference between a 43 and a 45 series, is exactly that. Also helps a little bit with the historical stuff, because of I'm sure with the New Britain branded ones and any others that were based off their design, you can just judge by the fact that it has just one patent number versus two patent numbers, knowing that it's the newer version. Because this patent number seems to be stamped on every ratchet that uses a New Britain design, regardless of what brand name is on it. So that'll be a good way for people to identify whether they have one of the newer or older ones. Anyway, really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.